former Highland Radio sports presenter Miles Gallagher described Hugo Duggan from Milford as probably the greatest all-round sportsman Donegal ever produced. He won a number of long jump national titles, 100 metres titles, was a founding member of Milford Athletics Club back in the 80s and a driving force in community games. And there's plans now to have the Hugo Duggan track in Milford, because the Athletics Club are developing a track and it will be named after Hugo. To that end, there's a big development draw which is going to be made actually this day week. But the chairperson of Milford Athletics Club, James Gibbons, joins me now in the studio. James, how you doing?
Good morning, John. Thank you. Thanks for having me in.
No problem. Now let's talk a little bit about Hugo, and I'm just looking down at some of the titles that he won. And not a name that would be readily known to in wider circles, but maybe within athletic circles, Hugo most definitely would have been, because I'm looking at the titles going back to the 60s. And a number of seven long jump titles. Yeah,
it's unprecedented. Other athletes have won maybe as many titles in other events in the country, not in Donegal, but for one person to span 3 decades of winning long jump titles in what is a very technical event, an event requires speed and strength, and as the years go on, that can decline in a person. But with Hugo, he was able to maintain it and keep it going right up until winning the World Masters long jump title in Australia in 1987 when he was over 40.
Right.
So it was, it was a testament to the athlete that he was, and indeed the all-round sportsman that he was. And you say that he wasn't maybe well known, and maybe not nowadays, maybe, but at that time in the 60s and the 70s, he was very well known. And even within athletic circles, particularly in Donegal and even nationally, he would almost be known by his first name, Hugo. When you said the word Hugo in athletics terms, everybody knew who you meant.
Because it wasn't just success at the long jump, also 100 metres.
Yes, and I suppose that's why he was so successful in the long jump, in that you need basic speed for the long jump.
And a burst of speed.
A burst of speed. And you also need strength, and particularly strength in your legs. When you hit that board at speed, when you're coming down the long jump runway, you need to be able to control yourself then when you hit the board, and lift yourself into the air and sort of carry yourself forward a wee bit, sort of almost walking on air. When you see the good long jumpers at Olympic level do that, Hugo could do that. He could propel himself through the air. So yes, he needed that basic speed, as all jumpers do, and Hugo had that. Like, he ran 11 seconds dead for the 100 metres on basically a dust surface. Like, he didn't, and ordinary type of spikes. He didn't have the tracks that we have now, and the footwear and the science that we have now. So it was a great achievement for the time it was in it. Yeah.
It was a member of a number of different clubs: Cranford, Clonliffe Harriers, Lifford, and Finn Valley. But from the 60s was competing from the 60s through to the 80s. So, as you say, spanned 3 decades.
Yes.
Which would be very unusual for an athlete to be able to keep.
Yes, absolutely.
Maintain.
And even in those days, and we know in soccer and different, even with George Best and people like that, people stopped competing at maybe mid-20s or late 20s, and certainly around here for work commitments and family commitments. Nowadays it's very usual, and in fact the norm for athletes, good athletes, to continue on 35, 40, 50, 60, 70 even, but in them days it was unusual. And he would have started even pre the formation of the county board in 1969 when he was with Cranford. Cranford, of course, were the first club that were formed in the county. And he was a very successful member of that, which was a very successful club at the time. And so he won that first title with Cranford in 67. And then through work reasons, him and Danny McDade and many others would have went to Dublin to find work, and Paddy Marley as well from Milford. And they continued on their athletic journey with which was the most successful club in Dublin then, which was Clonliffe Harriers. And of course Paddy Marley went on to be like an icon and big part of Clonliffe, but that's where Hugo worked and lived and trained, and he won those 4 titles with Clonliffe in 70, 71, 72 and 74.
Went on to compete in Masters events as well. But even beyond competing, he was a founding member then of the Athletics Club in Milford, and was a driving force in the community games.
Yes, aye. Hugo was not only a great sports person, but he was a great personality as well, and had a great charisma about him. And when he went into coaching, that was the one that thing that endeared him to it, that he could relate to everyone, and particularly to juveniles, young juveniles. He had that ability to put his arm around them, and even somebody finished last, he would say, "Well done, young fella, you that was the best I've ever seen you do." And he just had that ability to be positive and speak positive about people, and encourage them to do better, and
get the best out of them.
Get the best out of them, and not only the best in sport, but in the best in life. Because I know when Hugo passed away, there was many people, writing on Facebook and that, and said that Hugo kind of helped them on the road to the journey that they took in life, because of what
beyond sport,
yes, of what they saw in taking on responsibility and just being there and turning up on time and all those sort of things, that
as a role model in different ways.
That's right, yes. He was a great mentor, and so people say everybody needs a mentor, and to Hugo there was a lot of people that he was a mentor. When you went there, you felt you were achieving something. Right. And maybe in other parts of life you didn't feel, but when you got talking to Hugo, you felt
that effect on people.
Yes, great effect. Yeah.
And even beyond athletics, he was involved with Milford Fly Angling Club.
Yes,
totally different.
Totally different. Yes, I suppose maybe after athletics and maybe that was his first love, was
something
was
a
fishing.
lot easier on the body.
Yes, he had great. He spent many hours out in Lough Fearn fishing, and fishing was his big thing, and his father was into fishing, and there was many of the older men in Milford when he was growing up as a young boy would have been into fishing. Lough Fearn was a very famous lake, and many anglers would have came from Northern Ireland and indeed the UK, and would have stayed in the Milford Hotel, which was then sort of the best hotel in the area, and went to fish out in Lough Fearn, and Hugo would have been almost as a guide maybe to those people, and would have continued that on then in his latter life.
Now, the current centre, the sports centre in Milford, this is where the GA Club and Milford United are based, as well as where the athletics training is that correct?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, Hugo was instrumental in that being realised.
Yes, he was a great believer in the clubs working together, and I suppose in all athletic clubs working together, but particularly in Milford, where you had the 3 clubs. Soccer was long established in Milford from the 60s, probably even beyond that, before that. Then the Gaelic started in the late 70s, early 80s, and the athletics, there was always athletics, but there was no organised club. Community games was the nearest that there was, and there was a few men of the era of that late 80s who wanted to continue the community games onto a kind of club level, and that's how the athletic club was formed in 87. So rather than maybe having just one dedicated place for each of them, they came together. And I suppose over the years there was an odd row here and there, and not everything agreed, but eventually we did have that, what we now call the park development facility, and it's a very admirable facility, and people who come maybe for the first time and see it can't believe the sort of the size of it, and I suppose primarily 3 clubs working together. Yeah.
But is it now a case where kind of the 3 clubs have outgrown it? Because at the start it looks great. Oh, well, here's a GA pitch, a soccer pitch, and a stand and big dressing rooms, and it looks great. But time moves on.
Oh yeah. That's what's happened.
And they're
exactly,
oversubscribed.
John. Yes, oversubscribed. The GA is massive now, and from under 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old girls and boys right up to senior level, very, very big. So they were looking to expand and get their own facilities, which they are now in the process of doing. The soccer club itself is expanding, and they have an AstroTurf pitch beside the hall. But again, massive number of underage teams. They they hardly have time or space to fit them all in, as well as their own soccer pitch and training pitch. And we ourselves then are expanding. We have, the athletic club, have up to 90 juvenile members now training on twice a week, on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And during the winter, when the training pitch is a bit buckier and wet and stuff like that, we have to go over to the Balear AstroTurf pitch. So
for all weather.
For the all weather. So we could see a long time ago the need then for our own facility and the athletic club.
Okay, so the first job was to get some ground. And where is it? Is it near?
Yeah, so that was the kind of selling point of it as well. The land became available. It wasn't the best of land for development because there was trees growing on it. The trees have since been removed with a felling licence. But it was close proximity to the existing park. There was only a dividing ditch between the two places, and so that was a big selling point. Now it'll take probably a bit more money now to develop the ground because it wasn't prime agriculture land, but.
So the first job was to secure the land, buy the land, and was fundraising done for that. And now it's you want to develop it. And what's the plans for the development? Obviously, a track.
Yes, well, in our case, the first and primary thing is is a track. Now we have additional land which we call will be for a cross country course or whatever, but which will probably, hopefully, maybe take less development. But the track is the first thing. And as I say, we have the trees removed. Now we raised in the first draw almost 100,000 to purchase the land, and the associated costs then of legal fees and environmental fees and just all the different sort of wee planning things and things you don't think of, costs that arise from time to time. So we've got the planning permission. We're now in the stage of starting to do some physical work, and it'll probably just to get the track up to sort of track dust standard with a field in the centre will be 350,000. So we still then would have to go on beyond that and put on the finished synthetic surface that you see on other tracks. But the immediate goal is just to get it up to a running track standard of 400 metres.
All right, not a synthetic surface.
Well, eventually, but not just to start with, because we have to sort of
one step at a time
walk before we can run.
So you have enough ground there to be able, or you plan to do cross country running there as well.
Yes,
It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's great. It's a great from what was started with Hugo and other people's vision to sort of carry on now and have a sort of one big sports centre in Milford.
This all takes time and money, hence this development draw.
Yes, absolutely, John.
And some nice prizes. Well, total prize fund of 6,000. The first prize is what?
3,000 cash.
Okay. Yeah, that's nice. I'm just looking down through the list here. There's oil from Horskies. There's €500 worth of Blue Book vouchers, a €300 voucher for Arena 7, a €200 voucher for Eco Adventures. That's Hugh Hunter's Eco Adventures, and then the sixth prize is a family club membership for Milford Athletics Club, which would be great for any family. That's worth €125. So some great prizes. Tickets are available.
Yes,
still?
They're still available. Yes, we've
where?
Well, they're on the Facebook page online. I suppose we've had a number of outlets, a way of selling the tickets. We were in the local shops at various weekends selling, online selling. Club members then were asked to take 2 books each. Parents were asked to take 2 books each to sell amongst themselves and their family and friends. So that was a good outlet, and I want to thank both the parents and the club members for doing that and taking that on board. And online is starting to kick in now as these things kind of...
Well, as the deadline comes, because the draw is this day week, and as the closer it gets to that, the more it focuses the mind, and it'll go, that draw.
Yeah, because loads of people say, I must get the ticket, and then as it comes close, they definitely do some. So the online's taken off a bit now, but we just want to keep the pressure on and keep pushing and try and get the maximum amount of tickets sold and try and
raise as much as possible
and
bring it forward.
Get that get that start again. And
okay, and it will be named after Hugo. So the full name will be what?
The Hugo Duggan Milford AC track.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, listen, the best luck with the draw. It's on this day week. Anybody wants a ticket, available some local outlets and any club member, and also online. Just go to the Facebook page and follow the link from there. And the best luck with it, James. Thanks for.
And just to thank the club committee, the very hard working committee, because these things just don't happen with one or two people.
Absolutely.
We need everyone. So just to thank the committee, as I said, the parents and the athletes, and indeed the wider community who have got in behind us, always do weigh in behind us, the business people and the local people. So to thank them for their efforts thus far, and hopefully in the next few days you can support us that wee bit further as well. So thank you, and thank to Highland Radio and John for giving me the opportunity.
Not a problem. Thanks, James.
Thank you, John.